welcome everybody, and it is time for our Red Hot Talk, where photography matters. And today, we are going to have some fun, right, Rod? To look at some live action from Adobe's latest version of Photoshop. It's not a public release, it's a beta version, but it has already created quite a buzz around the photography society because it can do something pretty crazy. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you have seen my thumbnail, and you kind of guess what I'm going to do. So I'm going to do some live demonstrations here on today, so you will see exactly how it works and also how powerful it is or not. So it can go both ways depending on how you do it. And Rod and I are going to discuss about the ethics side of it in terms of like using AI, and also maybe the potential impact to your photography. In particular, I think on the commercial side, and whether it's going to help or not help. So it's going to be lengthy discussions, and you all can chip in. And what we want to hear from you is that what is your thought about AI these days, especially from the image generation's point of view. Last week, and when we talk about actually, Rod and I talked about the AI technologies within the camera from the hardware side of it, and so this time is purely from the generations, from the actual post editing. What we are not going to talk about is the mid journey, and which is the image generation from scratch. So this is something that it's gone into a bit of a controversy lately because a couple of these images actually won the awards, and most notably the Sony Image Award, and that was quite something. But subsequently, there are a few other AI generated images has won a competition. So now it comes to a point that people are starting to think about, are these images actually real? And so we're going to talk a little bit about that later. But first of all, Rod, and welcome back to the chat, because you went on holiday.
I did. I went all the way down to Cornwall, the very southwesterly part of the United Kingdom, and not so very far from Land's End, actually, and spent a week at the lighthouse.
Very good, very good.
So
And you managed to take some photos. You managed to take some
I
photos.
did. I took almost all the shots with one camera and two lenses.
Yeah.
And it all worked out fine.
And what camera and what setup did you get? Did you take with you?
It was my EM13, my 8-25 f4 and 40-150 f4, and between them they did just about everything.
Right.
So yeah, it worked out very well. I always get a bit worried going where the camera gear. I generally take twice as many things as I need and ever use. So this time I thought, well, let's go for it. I chose these lenses because I thought they'd be a good pairing to cover everything I want to do. And they pretty much did. I also had the 17 f1.8 with me for a couple of things, but I only used it because I had it there, not because I needed it.
Sure.
So yeah, it's very successful.
Great. So I know you took some photos because you sent some of them to me, and I took the liberty.
Yeah, I know. I saw that. Yeah.
To modify them a little bit with the AI within Photoshop. So shall we have a quick look at it? And I'm pretty sure that a lot of you guys may be quite eager to see exactly how this AI thing works and how it generates things in the image. So I'm gonna just click onto the screen right now, and there we go.
Better not mess with my images, Jimmy. I'm watching.
Right, first of all, I'm going to look into this one here, and just 1 second. I'm going to have close off some of the windows here so I can see exactly.
That's one of yours, though, Jimmy, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, this is mine,
yeah.
and so before I go into this one, because this is quite something because of the work behind it has gone through. So this is your image.
Oh.
And so it's
what
it's
the hell?
I just want to ask a question from the audience here, for whoever is watching right now. How many of you actually think or what elements within these photos are actually real? what is not real, because I have added a few things in here, and Rod's photos is beautiful actually, and I haven't really done any grading or anything like that. This is as is how Rod sent me his raw file, and I simply just using Adobe Raw, open it up and without touching anything, and just add stuff to it. But it's a beautiful photo. It's a lovely is it sunset or sunrise, Rod?
Sunset.
It was the sunset,
Sunrise.
yeah.
Sunrise would have been about 4:30 in the morning. I'm not.
Oh.
I'm crazy, but I'm not mad. No sunset.
I thought you would be dedicated enough to get up early in the morning and get a sunrise. Right, so there we go, and let's I don't know how any of you guys have a guess. Yeah, if you don't, I'm going to review what is actually real, what is not real in here. Let me just try to move the windows a little bit because I'm a bit clouded at the moment. Right, first of all, let me tell you that all the seagulls that you see here, they are fake, and as the boat in the background or in the further distance, these are completely fake. So if I switch them up in layers, so you can actually see them. I'm going to switch them off now, one by one, and you can see that this is the original image. So what you need to do in this latest version of Photoshop beta version is that you can use any sort of lasso tools to draw an area that you want to fill or delete something. So let's say if I want to add another things in this image here, so I can simply just draw something around here, and I can click generative fill, and I can say planes. Okay, let's see what happened then. So it takes a little bit of time, and even with my latest M2 Max, it still takes a bit of time to render and to compute what it needs to do. From what I've read from Adobe's website, and how they generate images is actually based on the stock photos that they receive all this year from all the users, and use that as a machine learning to learn, what subjects are, like whether it's going to be plane, what an apple looks like, and it's all about deep learning. They spent the last 10 years building this up. They've only until last week, a couple of weeks ago, they released this beta version, including this AI generations based on the deep learning technologies they have been rendering for the last 10 years. So there you go. This is a plane. And what do you guys think? Does it look real or does it not look real? I think if you look at the pixel level, it's actually pretty fake because it's too sharp for what it is. You can see that the even though I think Rod has using quite a smaller aperture, but the focus is still on the lighthouse, and the background is a little bit out of focus. And so if I just move it to the plane, and you will see why I said it's fake, because you see it's really pin sharp. So what I need to do, if I want to make it slightly more realistic, what I need to do is just to blur out a little bit if I need to. So I can just go into here and go to filter and go to add Gaussian blur. There you go. Right, now blur a little bit, it will look a little bit more realistic. So if I zoom it back out again, it will look actually okay. But I don't know, what do you guys think? And about, how first tell me whether it's actually look real to you, whether it's actually okay. What I'm impressed though is that the computer does manage to work out, or the AI does manage to understand the lighting and the angle, and also based on the shadow tones in the image to also render the same kind of hue and kind of tint on and the actual computer generated plane itself. So you're zooming back in again. So let me just go back in. So there you go. So you can see that it's actually using the same shadow tones as the lighthouse. So they're trying to make them very consistent, and as a result, obviously you have to do a little bit more work to it to make it more realistic. You may want to add some artificial grain to it to make it look like the pixels and noise in the image, because obviously, like any other images, if you really zoom into the pixel level, you will see some patterns of the noises, while the computer generated image will not have any of that. So you may want to further work a little bit to make it even more realistic if you really want to. But from distance, from any small devices, you really can't tell the difference. Like let's say if you watch, look at this image from the iPad, on a phone, going through Facebook page where they compress the images anyway. They look pretty impressive. Let me just add all this stuff behind again, and so I'm gonna add the. Oops, hang on. Something happened here. Oh, there you go. That's why I haven't clicked OK yet. That's why I can't change anything. Okay, so let me add the seagulls back and the boat. So instantly I have turned. Oh shit. The plane has crashed into the seagull. That's not great.
That seagull's bigger than we thought.
So let me just remove one of the oh, not that one. Let me remove that one. So let's keep the plane there. So I suddenly have turned Rod's masterpiece into an absolute iconic photograph for the next century, by adding all these elements to it. So this is one example of this, and I have a few more to do with you guys, and I have also trying to do a complete live demo with you guys with one image which I got it here. This is obviously a shot I did with Sarali a couple of years back now. So I want to see how Photoshop AI generations can transform this image into something else. But I also want to demonstrate the power behind it as well, because let me show you the next image. And this is Zohar. And this is absolute nuts when I actually first started to massage this file here. And because it really shocked me how realistic it became. So if I switch off all the bits, and then you're starting to understand why. So I'm going to start switching up layer by layer now. And this is the original image, right? So this is the original, and this is part of this thumbnail that I showed you as well. Quite a few of you actually thought when I post this photograph on Facebook, and many of you has guessed actually the other one was the real one. And surprisingly, this is actually the original photo. And what I did first is I basically do a regenerative run the regenerative program to change the top that she's wearing. So that's what I did. So this the first step when I did that, and then so the AI were trying to work out, where her body is, and obviously if you look at her hair, it's literally stopped right about shoulder, just around shoulder line there. But then obviously because of that, what I did, the computer trying to extend the hairline a little bit more and just to make it flow over the top. This is completely what the computer thinks at the time. You can actually choose other versions if you like, which I'll demonstrate a bit later. Because for demonstration purposes, I just want to show you, because it does take a bit of time to render. So the next thing I did, and obviously because of the bottom looks a bit weird, and so I also highlighted the jeans and changed that to this. And it looks okay. And I'm going to continue massaging it because the foot is actually quite horrible. If I zoom in a little bit more, you can actually see the shoes completely messed up. Really, really messed up there. So I'm trying to work on the... first of all, yeah, I did the hand. Yeah, the hand is also a bit weird as well. So if you look at the hand, look like an alien... alien deformed hand there. So I try to change the hand a little bit, add a watch, and then now I'm going to work on the shoe. So first of all, I would try a little bit of that, but I think the red was a bit too bright, so I continue working adjustments to it. So I thought, yeah, maybe white trainer looks better, so I did that and changed it to white. And the next thing is, because this photograph is it was shot in portrait mode, in vertical, and if I want to make it horizontal, I simply don't have enough pixels on either side. Well, there's actually no information there because I didn't shoot it. So if I want to use it as a thumbnail, which is what my thinking for this video, and so I asked the AI to generate the sides for me. So I simply extended this.
I didn't catch that. Could you try again?
And okay, so let me just try to do this now. So this is good. This is actually crazy. This is absolutely crazy. So you see that the sides are completely fake, but they look absolutely ridiculously real. But what is more important and even more impressive is that the AI program also understands where the light is coming from, which is directly behind the model. And you can see the shadow line here, and it just nuts. It worked out the angle of the light subsequently. So so you can see the the shadow line on either side of the image is obviously they are completely fake, but they will somehow work out the angle and the light fall. It makes it look so realistic and believable. This is crazy. This is really, really crazy. And the last bit I did was was the hat. Actually, it's already showing. And which one's the hat? Oh, I think the hat was the last bit, wasn't it? I can't remember which bit now. Oh, there you go. That's the hat. And there you go. And yeah, this is quite a transformation from the original photo. It can be really, really crazy. And I haven't really spent a lot of time doing this. And I only played around with it for the last few days. And I just find it more and more amazed by how it works and also how realistic it can be. But of course, there is some poor examples that how AI would not work, which is the next image I want to show you guys. There you go then. And this is also Rod's masterpiece. This is real, by the way. This is all real. And no, I'm just joking. Rod would kill me for that. Yeah, the moon is fake, the plane and also the man is they're all fake. But you can tell straight away this is quite fake. First of all, the moon is obviously way too big and also way too sharp. I did de-sharpen it by adding blurs to it, but it still doesn't look quite right. The light was a bit too strong, too high contrast. So in order to make this more realistic, I have to do a bit more work to it. And but obviously I don't want to do that. Go on,
Jimmy, can I just chip in? Could you have made the moon smaller by drawing a smaller initial selection?
Yes, you can. Yes, I can show you right now if I want to do that. So let me delete the moon.
I imagine, although you've got, because there's a question about the previous shot with the plane being a little large in the sky. Yep. It's not as simple as changing the size of the layer, is it? Because the layer is not masked around the new object. No. It includes the background. So the only way to make it smaller would be to create a smaller selection to start.
So you can draw a little circle. You can see that right now. I'm drawing a little circle there. Now I want to say moon. And it should generate. So it will generate a very tiny moon within the area that I highlighted. And same as the plane, you can change the size of it afterward, but it's not masked, so it will change the surrounding area as well, so it will make it even worse. And so that is the best thing to do is actually regenerate a new one. But every time you regenerate, it will make a completely different version of it, so you won't be able to get the same version back. And so if I zoom in now, you will see the moon right there. And although it looks fake again, and yeah, maybe a little bit. Yeah, I did some adjustments there. That's why I'm trying to make it slightly more realistic. But yeah, it doesn't look right. Still doesn't look right. And the plane, I also add some blur to it, so it makes it blur in a little bit more and just not too, because otherwise it'll be just way too sharp for the good of this photo. And the man also quite horrible, and because you can see that. I try to describe it as much as I can, and but the AI doesn't seem to understand. And also, where it puts the lantern, you can see the it doesn't know how to work out where the light should fall onto the subject. You can see this person's left arm is completely dark, which is supposed to be lit by the lantern. This on the floor, and now his entire bum is on fire, but it's not supposed to be. So this is fake, very fake, too fake to be honest. So there are times that AI is really good and believable, but there are also times when it looks completely, really fake. What do you guys think? And have you? I'm not sure any of you have tried to play around with the Photoshop beta version in the last few days, because it's just been announced, and it's already caused a lot of quite a stir in the community. A lot of photographers has been trying around and trying to different versions of it, trying to regenerate things and trying to play around with all different different options that you can use with this AI. I think to me, it can be very useful, and it can be also quite funny. if you want to do some fun with it. But we're gonna have some discussion, like I said earlier, and to show you to discuss about the impact and also the ethics side of it, and how much should you be using this and for your photography. So all of you can chip in and tell, let us know what you guys think about AI, and also especially how you may want to use this for your photography if you really intend to use it. And I can tell you that I may use it because it can be quite good for I want to show you this particular image because I want to show you why I'm saying that. So obviously I did a bit of a heavy hand with this particular photograph here, but I just want to show you how you can also completely transform something here, because we all know where this place is, so you know this is fake. But for someone who may not have seen this before, it can be quite believable. But if I switch off all the layers again, so there you go. Right. First of all, you guys might think that this image is, wow, yeah, man, I know where this place is. This is completely real, right? You know, I know this place is real. But what you don't know is there are a lot of people here, which I removed them with the AI. So if I switch them back on one by one, you will see all the people starting to appear. So this is my original image. There you go. This is the original image. It's quite empty, so you know I did get out really early for this particular shot, and I'm trying to minimize trying to get a shot which is basically as clear as possible. But even with no matter how early I am, there is always going to be people, police, you know, officials are there, and so it's going to be really hard to photograph a clean shot. But what the AI does is that it can remove things very realistically without me having to lift a finger by cloning it, by having different layers and do all kinds of things. All I need to do is to highlight, you know, a subject and just remove. So I do it by one, you can see, and they are pretty realistic by doing that. This once again shows the usefulness of Photoshop if you really want to do what I'm showing you right now. And in some cases, in some of my photography, for instance, not that, in some of the photography, obviously this is not journalism. Totally not journalism. This is completely fake, and so I would not use it for any sort of historic values and things like that. But let's say if I want to take a portrait of my my client in a iconic place, and there are some annoying people behind, let's say a bin man pushing a trolley behind it, and I just hate that. But that was the moment, and that was the only shot I can take, and then that will be quite useful to remove that realistically. Without too much work, and to give it to my client to have a better shot at it. For commercial reasons, I think I can do that. I can live with that. And also, I mean, unless the client wants it, I can add some crazy stuff to it if you really want to. But obviously not this. This is completely fake again. You got a swimming pool right there, and the color doesn't reflect the sky. You can see that the sky is very dull that day, and it's definitely not blue. So I wouldn't use that at all. Then I started to play around with canals and rivers, and the last version I thought the more realistic one will be this one here. But once again, all these AI computer generated images are pretty I keep using the word fake. It is fake because if you look really close and start blowing at pixel level, then you'll see what I mean, right? So there you go. If you look into this, but what good thing about the AI is as well, it will also do a little bit of the depth of field as well, which is actually quite amazing. And so if we go back to the other image that I showed you earlier with Zohar, so you can actually see it does have the depth of field changes. And remember, the size were completely fake. And so it worked out the bokeh behind based on the original shapes, and then to work out the rest of it, which is completely crazy, right? You can see the changes in depth of field here, and which is, again, very, very believable. And this is another thing about this. The AI is just nuts, and when it comes to that, it knows where the far end is, where the closest point is, and work out the rest, and have this slight fall off in terms of depth of field and sharpness. to make up for the realistic side of it. But like I said, there is good example and bad example of that, and the lighthouse is a very good example to show that sometimes AI just doesn't know where everything is, and then everything is just way too sharp for the liking. It just looks fake because of that. But there are times it does look pretty real, unless you really drew down to pixel level and see whether the pixel blended with the original parts, and then you can see. So what's your thought on Rod about this?
I'm trying to think of a polite way of putting this. It's not for me. I think you have to work out whether you're taking a photograph or creating an illustration.
Yeah.
I think when you start introducing AI elements,
Yeah.
you're using photography as one component in an illustration. It is
Yeah.
not exactly a photograph in itself. So I say it's not for me. It's going to be. I think a lot of people will get a lot out of it, but for what I do, it doesn't quite fit in with what my aims are.
Yeah. Sure. Well, so I'm gonna start an image from scratch and hopefully give you a bit of a an idea how crazy this can be. So let me just shrink it down a little bit. And so, guys, are you braced for impact, right? We're gonna start doing some live actions here. So what do you guys want to do with this? And give me some pointers. And what do you guys want to see this? And Rod, have you any idea what we may want to do this image? Just for the fun of it, you know.
But this is actually quite difficult for me to say, because
Yeah.
I don't think I think of photographs perhaps in the same way that you do.
Right.
I tend to see photographs as being what was in front of the camera, not what I want it to be.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I'm interested to see what you do, but I'm finding it very difficult to say what that should be,
Yep.
because
No.
it is a photograph of what's there.
Yeah, of course. And but what I'm going to show you is that, you know, like earlier I did say that I'm going to extend this image. Okay. So now I've extended the frame here from vertical to square, and obviously there's nothing here. And what I want to see with the AI, first of all, can generate the building behind, and also the missing hand. So that would be interesting. So I have no idea. So let's see what this thing does. It could be quite an interesting thing here. So there you go. Like now I highlighted this entire section here. And oh, David Allen said me remove the stripes from her dress. Right, okay, we can try that. So let me try to fill this bit first. I have no idea. Right, I'm just gonna generate. I'm not gonna type anything. I just want to see whether the computer can think for itself and to recreate the background and the missing hand. Right, it's gonna take a little while, and yeah, it's not instant. So he's trying to think a lot of things, and also he's also remember he's trying to figure out the lighting angle as well. So he's actually quite a lot of things to think about. Then the computer can take some time to think. Oh my goodness. Right. Okay. What do you guys think? Obviously, you can actually clearly see the line there in this particular case here, but is pretty close, and he knows it's a dog, right? He actually knows where it is, and I am a little bit impressed with what he thinks, how he understands the elements within the photograph, even though it's blurred behind it. And this is quite interesting. Wow. And okay, right. And you say need a bit more overlap. Yes, I will try to overlap a little bit more. Let's see if it will help a little bit here. And okay, I'm going to just go back a step. So right, I'm gonna redo this. I'm gonna have a little bit overlap to see whether I can. Oops. And I'm gonna try to overlap a little bit more. Okay, now overlap by a tiny bit. And see if I can generate a better blend in this case. There we go. This is the big moment. And David Allen also said that there's something funny about her hand. Yes, like I said, because the computer trying to generate, they know what a hand is, but they don't know how the hand position. Oh, this is more realistic. My goodness. Although you can still see the line here, you can still see the line there, and you can do a little bit of it afterward in Photoshop. Well, it is in Photoshop. You can do a little bit of it to remove that line there, but this time it has shown a slightly better hand. This is definitely more realistic now. Okay, let's continue to play around with this image here to see how far we can get. And guys, whatever you like to make me do with these photos, let me know, and I'll try to do something about it. One of you wanted to say remove the lines, right? And let me see if we can remove the lines in this. It's going to be a little bit tricky, so I will try to just maybe highlight section of it. And then just say remove the lines and see what happened then. Okay. Will it remove it? And let's see. AI is fun now. Now, when you're trying to make fun of the photos, I think it can be a little bit fun, and it's a bit not. Oh no, it doesn't do anything at all. I think you just kind of generate another version of it. But what I think, because I shouldn't say remove line. Oh, there we go. That's a version of it. Right. So every time you click on generate, you generate 3 versions. So you can actually have 3 versions of it. Can you see? Different version. This is white, but it doesn't look realistic at all. So I'm going to change that. So what I will do is I'm going to remove this and start again. Okay. Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a smart suggest, and then just to maybe click on this. No, I don't think it selected the right bit here. I'm still going to use the lasso tool then. I think lasso tool is slightly better. And so I'm going to highlight her top here. Right. So what top should she wear? Maybe should we put a denim jacket? Maybe we'll put denim jacket. Denim jacket. And to see what it does. Okay. Oh dear me. I think the denim jacket is a little bit too tight for her. And let's do another. Oh, this is 18 plus. Oh dear me. This is wrong. This is totally wrong. No, all of them are too fake. Right, so it doesn't work with that. And okay, maybe it changed into a leather jacket. Maybe it's slightly better then. Leather.
Make sure the buttons are done up, Jimmy. Jeez.
I couldn't believe it. They actually have that version. The computer is definitely feeling something, right? Okay. Even though it's not the leather jacket I would imagine, but at least it definitely looks a bit more realistic and more presentable than the other versions and I've seen so far. And another version. I don't think the AI has much fashion sense, to be honest. But at least it's slightly more realistic than the denim version. So we put the neck also looks a bit funny too. See this bit here? It's a bit funny. But I'm not trying to correct this at the moment. I'm just going to try some fun to it. So let's add a necklace and to see what you can what you can do. And hope that it will do something. Oop. Oh my goodness, this is a little bit too big, right? The necklace. Right, let's change it a little bit. No, too big. Definitely way too big. But don't forget that it's relating to how big the area you draw. You know, like we discussed before. You know, if you draw the circle a bit bigger for the moon, you draw a big moon. So like, it's really entirely up to you where you want to fill this thing. So, but anyway, at the moment it's only for a demo, and so I just want to see what you guys think. And I'm gonna add a watch here. So I'm gonna add a watch. And let's see what it does. Okay, let's see what kind of watch it's gonna put in there. So should we put a skirt on her? Maybe maybe we should put a Scott. Oh, that doesn't look a watch to me. Oh, that's a watch, but the strap is broken. Once again, it's because how much I drew on that bit there. So maybe I would draw a little bit better. I'm just too lazy. And right, I mean, I'm gonna do that again. So I'm gonna draw around her wrist a little bit better. So let's see if I got a slightly better generations from here. Right. Okay, see, this time is definitely a lot better. Yep, that's fine. That looks elegant enough. So I'm gonna change to her trousers into skirt, I guess, and so let's do skirt. Oop. And let's see. Let's see what kind of thing it comes up with. And it can be random, you know, just like you saw before with the denim jacket. That just looks horrible. Oh, okay, right. Oh, it knows how to match it too, right? Okay, matching is a leather, leather skirt. Okay. Oh, definitely not that. Even though he's trying to match the fashion sensor, but it doesn't look right to me. I think this is probably the better one, better version of it. Well, we're getting there. We're getting there. Maybe we put some. Maybe we put a hat on. Maybe, and let's see what it comes up with a hat. So let's do a hat. Let's see, and a hat. Let's see where they're gonna come up with something nice or something horrible. Oh dear. Oh dear. I don't think anyone wear this sort of thing, right? And okay. Oh, why? Why just have a small thing? Do I have to draw a big circle to do this? And okay, let's try. I need to try to make sure that it has a it has a slightly better version of this. So let's do a bit better then. Okay, let's do. I'm going to draw a bit bigger now to see if we can actually do it. Right. Okay. Let's draw a hat. Oops. Oh, don't know why it does it. Okay. Let's. What do you guys think so far? Are you having fun with this? Because to me, it's the novelty at the moment. I just want to see what the AI does and what it can do. Okay. Oh dear. Definitely not nice. That maybe it would have been. It would work if it's slightly bigger. I think it's still a bit too small. Okay, I think that's enough. I don't think it can work that well with the hat. And let's give it one more try. I'm gonna draw it bigger now to see whether it can actually do something. Right. Okay. Let's do hat again. And also I may add something behind and in the background. What do you guys want to add behind the background? And there you go, slightly better version now, but it still doesn't quite match the head shape, and you can see that it still doesn't work quite well there. That may be maybe yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think this. I don't know. What do you guys think? Well, I keep it at that at the moment. Maybe I keep. Which one do I like? I think maybe this one. No, I think maybe this one. Yeah, just slightly more funky fashion. Right. And now, just because this is so fake, we must as well add something even more fake. And so, what shall we do here? Maybe I'm gonna add a shark. A great white shark. And see whether you can have something like the jaws popping out, from the water. Why he does that all the time like this? I don't know. Let's see what happened then. Small boat in the water approaching her. Maybe. Right. Okay. And oh. Right, this is the prime example when the AI doesn't really work, and so none of them works. None of them work. You can forget about this. I'm gonna switch that layer off completely. Maybe a boat. Yeah, it's like someone suggested. Maybe a boat. So, but the boat has to be fairly big though, because this is actually quite close to the water. So maybe in the distance a little bit. So I'm gonna draw this big circle here. So maybe in the distance. So a boat. Let's see what kind of boat is going to generate. And but before we continue, you can actually see, even though it looks completely fake at the moment, but in terms of the shadow and the lighting angle, it is still pretty realistic. I think the AI has done a great job in terms of interpreting where the lights are. And I think that is pretty impressive, even though, it's not very well done in this particular case, but it's still very, very believable in terms of the lighting angle, and the texture of the jacket is actually pretty good. So now you go, there's the boats there. And it also worked out the depth of field too. So it does look realistic, and it can actually work with the boat there. So, yeah. So what do you guys think about the latest version and of the Photoshop with these particular AI image generations? And one thing you need to know, that Adobe does have a guideline in the AI program, so it's fairly strict in what you can and cannot do. For instance, I cannot add a gun on her hand. Any sort of weapons, knives is not. I think knives you can, but then any sort of weapon, like guns and bazookas and things like that, you're not allowed to use or generate any sort of images like that. And likewise, you cannot have any sort of adult contents. For instance, you want to remove her clothes, no, you can't do that. So there are certain straight guidelines that you have to follow. Actually, you don't have to follow; it simply won't allow you to do that. But other than that, it's pretty much free. You can add anything to it. You can do anything to the image, and you try its best to work out exactly what you want and what you need. But like I said, you really try and error, and you just have no idea what the image is going to turn out, what sort of thing it's going to draw. The better description perhaps will help the AI try to work out exactly what you need. But sometimes, it's going to be hard. I don't think you should be writing a whole paragraph trying to describe something. And so maybe a line with 6-7 words should be sufficient to get a slightly more accurate descriptions of the changes that you want to add or delete. But other than that, it's pretty good. And David actually suggested maybe what if I said the boat in the distance. So let's see if I do something like this again, and if we say boat in the distance. In the distance, let's see. And I think at the moment, because the AI does know that this background is blurred, so it will blur accordingly with a similar amount of depth of field applied to it. Although it's artificial, but it knows how to do it. There you go. Even though it doesn't look like a boat at all, but then that is just not a boat at all. Maybe that one is. But yes, it's it just applying the shallow depth of field at the back and blur it out and give you some kind of image, some sort of subject behind, give you a sense of what a boat is. You can actually make it more clear, like the other one here. You can see that the boat in the distance slightly sharper, and this is actually quite too sharp for my liking. I actually added some blur to it to make it slightly more realistic. But what's funny is that it also work out give a little man there on the boat. And although if you know sailing, you know that this is actually not to scale. It's a bit funny to scale. The man is a bit too big for the boat, and it just doesn't look right. But anyway, it is what it is, and that's how the AI see things. Unless you starting to describe a bit more on the scale of things. But I don't know, and I don't really think the AI knows about scaling in that sense. So it's gonna be, again, trial and error to see whether you can make something work or not. Right, I got another comment here. Let's see. I tried that lap mouse yesterday and came over with computer mouse and needed to say small white mouse to get what I wanted. Oh, right. Yeah, I think it's also the language as well, and I'm not entirely sure at the moment. I think it's the current beta version is very US based, so I think I try a little bit of the wording where it's actually very British, and I don't think it actually understands. So and like trunk, and that's the boot in the UK, the car trunk and car boot. It doesn't know what it is, and so it's at the moment it's quite US based. So the language is all based in that regions there. So some of the wording you may have to reword to make sure that the program understand. So this is the live demo that I want to show you guys, and it can be quite scary in a way that like this particular image here it definitely looks very realistic, very I would say amazing in how the AI understand lighting, and even if you look a little bit closer to the just behind her leg here, this section here, and you can see if I just highlight it, and yeah, just this section here is just really amazing, and how you understand the light will go through, the fabric, and it's totally realistic here. And so it's a lot of little detail that I personally think that the program does a brilliant job. And in this particular image here, all the fake background on either side of the frame is unbelievable. So there is good and bad in terms of that, and this is the worst example of that. And this is kind of and this particular one here is somewhere in between, and the lighting's certainly okay, but I wouldn't say the hand is good. I wouldn't say the neck is done well. And even though that if you zoom in a little bit here, you can see the arm is kind of a bit weird here. You can see this section here is totally wrong. And yeah, it just a bit weird in some cases. But other than that, don't forget this whole section here doesn't exist. It worked it out by itself. And that's the amazing part of it. I think for a lot of creators and who needed a especially graphics designer and graphics manipulators who needed more pixels to work with, and if the frame is shot vertically or horizontally, you want to extend the actual canvas, this is actually pretty good to work out the rest of it. And I think that if you need that sort of applications, and the new AI program will do a brilliant job for that one. But of course, this is still in beta, so things can still improve dramatically by the time it releases, and will also improve over time because it's all machine learning. The more it learns, the better it gets. So what do you guys think about this? And let me know in the comment section below, and also in the chat room here. And let's go back to our chat with Rod. And Rod's been observing all these lovely images here. So, so what do you think so far? Now you see it in action. What do you think?
I think it's very effective if that's something you want to do or need to do. I wouldn't argue with that. It's not something that I myself need to do. Occasionally I might get an image which I shot badly and I've ruined it and I wish I hadn't.
Yeah.
And it could be useful for fixing that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll get a shot when I think it's just plain boring, but I need the shot.
Yeah.
So I better do something. But it's not how I see things. I don't see scenes in terms of what I can make them into. I see them in terms of what they are. That's what I'm interested in, what they are. And that shot you've got there, I would have some issues with that, because I would think, how would that person feel if you'd left her partially clothed and you intended to use that image somewhere? Would she be fine with that, saying no, it's no problem? Or would she say, what have you done? You can't show me like that. That would bother me a lot. So I would be extremely worried about using this stuff on people, because you are representing them in ways that are not real, that they don't know you're going to do. That worries me quite a lot.
I would not disagree. Well, I showed you the example earlier with the other shop trying to change her top into leather, and the AI would would change the styling completely, which just doesn't really work to to the original shot that the creative directors or the fashion designers would want. So I don't think it will be an application for that. But I just wanted to showcase what the AI thinks, and how it thinks. So is in that regards, the technology itself is pretty impressive. How we interpret the body shapes and how we interpret, materials being laid on top of it to make a cloth, and to form a style which doesn't really exist.
Yeah, and I think it depends on how you intend to use it.
Yeah.
I think if you are using a photograph as evidence
Yeah.
of something, then you're on thin ice. If you are creating attractive art,
Yeah.
or a fantasy, or a graphic to what's the word I'm looking for? An illustration.
Yeah.
It's fine. Anything goes. But if you present a manipulated photograph as successfully as that, to the
Yeah.
extent that people can't tell it's manipulated, and if you don't tell them, then I think not only does it kind of affect how people perceive photography. I
Yeah.
think as a photographer, you should probably be asking yourself, should I be doing this?
Yeah. Well, funny you mentioned that, because I totally agree with you and really do. And but there are a lot of photoshoppers out there, who are so skillful. Obviously this is
Yeah.
computer generated.
This,
Yes.
this has been going on for years. It's just
Yes.
become so easy that you don't. It doesn't require the same level of skill as before, and we are likely to see many more convincing manipulated images than we were ever exposed to previously.
Yes. And I think
So
the AI generators now it literally broaden the scope. So now, like, ordinary people who haven't got the Photoshop skills can do something, that normally would require quite a heavy work, from manipulation point of view. But now, like I said, removing people, you used to have to do a lot of cloning, a lot of you need some skills to do proper cloning. But with the AI, it does. I wouldn't say 100%, but at least 95% is done for you, and you just have to tidy up a little bit here and there to make it even more realistic. And so I actually think that yeah, like you said, it can become more common. You see a lot more photographs out there being manipulated like this, and you really have to start thinking whether where do you want to draw the line, and is this how you're supposed to be for photography? Whether you as a photographer you have to make the decision whether you want to use this technology to enhance your photographs. And for me, I don't think it should be used for enhancing photograph. But like you said, for let's say for illustrations, for something like this particular shot here, and if I don't have enough canvas, if I really want to make a presentation as horizontal, only as a presentation, but I only got one frame, I only shot frame vertically. So I think in this particular case, if I widen it, having the computer generate either side of the frame is totally fine. I'm not manipulating the subject, and she'll be totally happy with suddenly I got a wider frame, and compared to before.
This is it. The client often doesn't know what they want until they get what they asked for. Then they realize they wanted something else. So in this particular instance, you may have been asked to shoot a series of vertical shots for social media. And then your client suddenly says, "Wait a minute, I need a 16:9 thumbnail for YouTube."
Yeah.
Hey,
Right.
did you shoot one? And you say no because you didn't ask me for one, but I can do one anyway.
Yeah, and I just want to clarify this as well. And who Seraphine actually mentioned this. I wouldn't call it scary. I would call it annoying that these programs are stealing photos to do this. Definitely need very strict laws for it to be identified if you are going to post and sell these. I think there are a couple of points here. First of all, Adobe did say that they used the stock photos that they collected over the years from users who submitted to the library as the learning, for the deep learning program. And but anything that you see that has been generated are actually completely generated from scratch. and which doesn't really use any. It's not actually a real photograph or real example. It's just how the computer thinks what a white shirt should be, and how a black shoes would look like, how a white trainer would look like. So none of that is actually a copy to anything. So in that sense, it's not really illegal. It just that's from that point of view. So it's not really stealing any photos to do this. But on the other hand, I'm not entirely sure about laws to identify people to post and sell these images. What do you think about, Rod?
Well, let's take an example. Take the aeroplane you added to my lighthouse shot.
Yeah.
Are you saying Adobe would say that was generated from scratch and not from an image?
Yes.
Because I would be quite surprised if Photoshop could generate kind of 3D models on the fly for putting into images at a photorealistic quality.
Right. Okay. Let me just show you quickly, and let's go to the one with the aeroplane. Just let me just 1 second. Let me go back to this one here. So if I zoom it in, you can see what I mean, right? And let's go to the plane. Right. And yeah, I think I added the blur there. So if I remove the blur, so you see it's slightly clearer, and so that's no blur. Okay. Right. So now you see this, and let me just move it slightly to the center. And right, okay, now you see it. Okay, I mean, any aviation expert would be able to tell me whether this is fake or real. It's being copied or regenerated. And I can tell the wing at the top bit here, the graphics bit here, is basically fake. The graphics is not real. So are these graphics there. You can tell it's like a scribble. It's not actually real. And these are, you can see that the lines are also very rough as well. The edges are very rough. So it's been painted on almost by a 3-year-old kid. And also the edges of the plane doesn't look quite right, certain bits of it. I actually think it's let's put it that way. It's more like a montage of certain things all being stitched together. And then, so this is what I see. This kind of been generated. I don't think it's actually a copy, but obviously I cannot confirm or deny.
It'd be quite interesting to create one of these objects in a document, then do a reverse Google image search.
Yeah, that may be an idea, and that I might try that later just to see what happens.
In fact, let's do that. If I just do a little grab there, you carry on talking.
Yeah,
I will do that.
So I actually think that the AI side of it is actually pretty interesting, and the whole technology behind it. I would not want to endorse it in a way that, because I'm a photographer and I'm always support the realisms and always hate manipulations and things like that. And obviously, commercial can be very different stories. Like we know commercial photography has been been manipulated since the age of film analog photography. They've been manipulated in a way by scratching the negative, airbrushing and that kind of thing. They were very basic, obviously, that because the technologies were limited back then. But in digital, ever since digital photography became a thing, and manipulations have been a big part of it, especially on the commercial side. All the singers' albums is all been touched up. Have been transformed one way or the other, and I don't know if any of you has seen my Facebook posting. I think probably late last year or beginning of this year. There was one latest Vogue cover that featuring Serena Williams, the tennis player. That's for one of her shoots, and apparently that's been touched up heavily, and not heavily but subtly, so to make it slightly more presentable. Her waistline's obviously been slimmed down, and the reason that it's been spotted and it's been reported is that the photographer who did the touch up forgot to correct the actual line at the edge of the waistline, so it doesn't match the horizon line. So that's why it's got spotted. That's been manipulated. and otherwise it was pretty convincing. And how much other work's been done to the photograph, no one knows, but that was the obvious bit that's been done, so that's why people were talking about it. But like I said, manipulation has been around for many, many years, and especially really from the commercial side of it. Normal, like day-to-day photography is less so. Even like I would consider my line of work is commercial because I do sell my prints and I do sell my services to customers and I do print albums. But I always refrain photoshopping unless it's very specific. For instance, if a bride has a very big spot on the day, she really hated it, and I would correct that for her. Just removing a spot on her face, and this is something I would offer. But other than that, I would not like make her 2 sizes smaller or 2 sizes bigger. I would not do any of that, and it's not just about work, it's just about ethic. I just think people should accept the realism of it, the actual how real it is for the day. You want to remember who you are as a person on the day. You don't want to suddenly think that there's a totally different person's there. Some people may think otherwise, and I know especially where I come from, Asia, Hong Kong, China, and Japan and Korea, they all fancy a very touched up portraits for themselves. So I often see their wedding albums and things are heavily touched up, and their skin's been whitened. Sometimes they look a little bit slimmer, so they do alter the images for the sake of presentations and obviously for how their clients would like to see themselves. For me, I'm just a total opposite, and I think that you should accept who you are and see yourself in the mirror. That's how you are, how you look in front of the mirror, and you should be presented that way. So I don't like to alter images, and the only time I do it, like I said before, is when you maybe have some imperfection on your face or something that it kind of ruin your big day, and I will oblige you just to do a little bit of that. But other than that, I just think that you should keep the photo as it is.
It's difficult, isn't it? I can't talk because I don't think I've shared an image I haven't adjusted. I mainly adjust things like cropping, straightening, colors and tones, but I manipulate stuff all the time. So I mean, I can't talk really. I think we all
No.
have to decide what kind of image we're capturing and what we're going to do with it. So you were saying about portraits just then. Well, it's always a dilemma I have. I had to do a roundup of portrait enhancement software for a magazine
Yep.
quite recently, and where do you draw the line? When do you stop doing the kind of manipulation the subject feels happy with?
Yep.
When do you start idealizing people so that as if their real life appearance is inadequate? That you have to idealize them. It's not helpful, is it?
It isn't. I'm not sure how many listening or how many watching will think that, or been in the industry for any sort of magazines, for instance. And for those people who work in that industry, that you're probably very familiar what we're talking about, and probably like think that like touching up, it's just no, it's our day-to-day thing. It's nothing, it's no big deal. And if you've ever seen any of those markings and on the negatives, or actually on the test prints and the proof prints, you'll be shocked how much thing they want to alter from the original image. You will see like literally hundreds of lines pointing different things that they want to change. So this is something that you actually you don't see it because it's already happened. The magazine that you pick up from the newsstand, those images is already been touched up. So you don't see that what work has been gone through to show that image. And so this is something that I think that just because we are now talking about it, we are now showing people the manipulations and things, but this has been happening behind the scene for God knows how long in the photography world. And it's not new, but it is now, means that with the AI, with the help of the AI, we as an ordinary people who hasn't got the skill of an editor will be able to do something similar. And also, to a level perhaps, fairly realistic.
I think so, but I think you probably have to bear in mind that the editors you're describing do operate under fairly strict circumstances.
Yes.
so that they're not entitled to do what they like, and there are limits to what they can do and how to answer to somebody.
Yeah.
But the slightly worrying thing about all this AI power is that it's giving it to people who don't have to answer to anyone.
No, no. I mean, like what we just showed you. You know, we changed the top of the lady, and then
Yeah.
it just go bizarre there. And but yeah, I can understand. And so yeah, like all of you that and may have a chance if you got Adobe subscription, and you probably can have a go at it, and you can just download the Photoshop beta from their I think from the program directly, and you can actually download a separate version. It will not replace your ordinary version. It just basically another application, standalone application that you can add to the program, add to the computer, and run it separately. And to have a go at it to see what you can generate and what sort of thing you can come up with. From the stuff that I've seen online the last couple of days, and I see some shocking results from other people. Some of them can make it really real, and some of them not so much. Some of them are just funny, and I think at the moment it's going through this novelty phase at the moment. People are just having fun with it, and we will soon realize that how useful it is, and how it can destroy or enhance photography. Certainly in a commercial sense, but I think in personally, I would not probably want to do any of this, to be quite honest.
I think it's going to be a real boon to stock photographers if there are any left, because you hardly get any money at all. But it
No.
means it's a great way to illustrate a concept very quickly
Yep.
without having to take any photographs,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
Because you could get an image off Adobe stock. Some of the
Yep.
free images are perfectly adequate. Then you
Yeah.
can
Yeah. Yeah.
drop in a few AI elements and do a bit of recomposing to
Yep.
illustrate any kind of stock photography concept you needed.
Yeah. It certainly
But
is,
but
and
then again, if you only sell it for 1 cent per use, then it's probably not very appealing anyway.
like although we're talking about all these AI generations today, and but don't forget that like Rod would know, Lumina has been doing sky swap for a while, and then
Yeah,
and so there are many other programs that similar thing these days, like swapping this,
yeah.
swapping that. So the power is already there, and the program's already there, but I think Adobe just go a step further, and now you can just highlight an area you can remove or to add stuff to it. And in fact, the when I replace the clothes, and in fact, I'm not really replacing, I'm just adding things. So I'm just drawing an area, I'm just adding things to it, and let the computer trying to figure out where how that thing would fit into whatever is surrounding it. And so it's not really a replacement in that sense. It's just trying to generate a new layer that will make sense in terms of the computer itself. And I actually think that is uh, it's an interesting way of looking forward. I'm not entirely sure how other would respond at this point in time, and like Lumina obviously would think that, oh my god, like this is a new thing now, so we do something similar, it's starting to having these you can highlight using a lasso tool, just highlight an area, do something, replace it, or put something in there. So yeah, you never know.
A little while back, Who is Seraphin asked or said, "We need to stop calling this AI. There is no intelligence behind this. What do we call it?"
Mm.
I mean, I can see the point. My understanding is that the AI only comes in during the development of the algorithms.
Yep.
The software itself is not artificially intelligent.
Yep.
But it's using algorithms and content that was generated using kind of AI programming techniques.
Yep.
But there's no consciousness or sentience or intelligence involved at the user end.
Mm. Well, it's quite funny you mentioned that actually, but give me 2 minutes. I'm gonna pop out and get the parcel and come back. So Rod, you can
Okay,
chat away for now.
I've already got my parcel. That's what happened a couple of moments ago. Yeah, I think the whole AI content generation thing is interesting, but I don't know whether anyone else here thinks it changes your feelings about the photograph. So when Luminar first came along with its AI sky swaps, and it did originally have augmented skies where you could add things to the sky like giant planets, the rings of Saturn, space shuttles. There's all sorts of nonsense you could add. Um, my feeling was that the images I created in this way, I did not feel the same way about them as my regular photography. So I guess from my point of view, it's a very interesting illustrative technique, but what you end up with isn't exactly a photograph. But I think if you were a professional photographer like Jimmy is, you often have to do something new with an image that you weren't asked for at the time or you couldn't do at the time, like that recropping of the girl in the woodland scene. I think this kind of stuff does happen quite often. So yeah, I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting. As for how you detect photoshopped or manipulated or partially generated images, I think it's all very well for companies like Adobe to come up with authentication schemes, but then most of the people using this stuff and doing this stuff are not going to bother with any of that. And a few of them might just try to present their manipulated photographs as being real. I don't think there's anything you can do about that, though we have seen quite a few times recently where people have been caught out because they've been found out. So maybe that's all the regulation we'll get. Um, I don't think there are at the moment any legal frameworks out there to stop people presenting I'm going to call it augmented reality images as being real. The only obstacle to that at the moment is being caught. So, but then people do get caught, and I think also it creates a general mistrust of photographic or apparently photographic images generally. So So anybody who thinks that they can fake an image and convince people,
Yep.
I think they might be 20 years too late, because I think we've all become very deeply suspicious of photographs.
I think so. And but I just go back to a little bit before I went to pick up the parcel, and you mentioned about the AI, when you're responding to who's Seraphine's comment,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's quite interesting because I when I posted the video about the Alice cameras last week. A lot of people also said similar kind of tone in the way that saying the camera has no AI and you can't, there's what's the AI about this camera and things. I think from a user's point of view, you can't really see it because everything's happening behind the background, and then I don't know how you can really describe an AI or how it works, and unless you are actually working the back end and starting to look into the how you generate things and things. Similarly, if you look at all these subject recognitions, and now the manufacturers are all claiming to be AI and deep learning, how you recognize as a bird, how you recognize as a dog and human, and these are all kind of in a similar tones. And what you're using now, from a users, all you see is a box being highlighted. You can also argue, what's so AI about this? It just sees the frame in front of us, and there's an animal there. You just put a box it, and so it's a lot of things happening in the background, and many of us, would not even get close to trying to understand any of that, because that we're not supposed to. We're just using it, and similar to the Alice camera, and a lot of things has been done in the background. For instance, the white balance is actually AI, and it is not the usual white balance program that we use in modern digital cameras. And so is the autofocus, although it's not been demonstrated, but similarly, and to what we've been seeing these days about subject recognitions. But instead of recognizing subjects, the Alice camera actually recognizes the entire scene. It's almost like trying to interpret what it's seeing, in front of it and trying to interpret what needs to be focused. So when you're talking, it's supposed to focus on your face. When you suddenly move your eyes to the subject, trying to showcase something, it will automatically pan to this focus to the subject that you're trying to showcase instead of your face. And so that is a very intelligent way of looking at it from a focusing point of view. So it's more dynamic than the actual very rigid way of what we used to in digital cameras these days. Like when we selected animal tracking, it will only trying to find animal, and if you selected cars, it will only look for cars but nothing else. So it's very rigid. But then Alice is different. Alice is trying to basically incorporate everything into it. It's just becoming like a very big brain behind it, trying to recognize and see things and recognizes what you want to do with the frame. So that to me is pretty amazing. Although this is still work in progress as we speak, and I do hope to see a working version of it, because I will be amazed to see if that works and or how they describe it will work, and that could be something that quite revolutionary from how AI recognizes things in just to start with. This is really like a starting point of how AI can work in a camera. And but other than that, there are other things that I don't think people really see just from the demonstration itself, because what you see is how I use the camera and how it actually, how you as a user will feel at the end of the day. And many things that happens behind the background, I can't really show because it's actually coding. It's actually software. You can't really see. Or it's not even an engine. It's not something that's moving. They can show people that's how it works.
No, that is quite true. But I do think there is a danger that AI has become a popular buzzword that's become stripped of its meaning. I think we've talked about this before. It's used as a label to show that something new is better than it was before. And we've never really given any evidence that there is any great intelligence behind it. And the whole field of AI comes with a bunch of concepts like machine learning, programming using neural networks. I think most companies feel entitled, if they've used any of these machine learning or neural network processing techniques, to call it AI. It's a convenient umbrella term, which makes it sound marvelous. It's a different thing, but a long time ago when I was doing stuff for car magazines, everything had to be turbo. You could get turbo fan heaters for your living room. You could get turbo carpet cleaners.
Yeah.
You could even trying to think of another example. You'd obviously get turbo hairdryers, goes without saying. But for a while, if it wasn't turbocharged, it was out of date. And I think it's a similar thing. And I know there's a lot more concern about artificial intelligence today and its implications. But I do think we're in danger of accepting it as near magic without really knowing very much about it. And I don't mean by that that it's a frightening thing that we should be scared of. What I mean is that it's a word bandied around in a way that's designed to sell products as much as it is.
I don't know how many of you actually read today's BBC News, and actually since yesterday, there's been a couple of articles about the danger of AIs and also the unknowns basically. At the moment, the so-called AI and deep learning technologies at the moment that's happening around the world in different industry, not just about photography. And it's pretty restrictive, and the program itself, we Rod and I talked about it about this AI thing in cameras. They're not learning on a day-to-day basis. They don't improve over time. It's just being programmed to give you that particular functionalities or feature, and all the learning and things is done in the factory themselves when they do the proper learning and things like that. So everything's been done, and it's been pumped over via a firmware update or by a new camera. feature. So it's not something that it has an intelligence or in some sort of consciousness in there. It just keep improving, thinking for itself. It's not like that at the moment. And but having said that, it's a possibility that one day that could happen. That so the more you use the camera, the more clever it becomes. It's something that I am genuinely a bit worried about that. And if one day we do have that sort of intelligence in a camera. What's the point having us as a photographer behind it? Because it was starting to analyze. Oh, your framing is rubbish. You have to move left a little bit, move up a little bit, and trying to guide you. And to beginner, it may sound a bit novel. It's it's cool. It's teaching me how to photograph. But then again, you can look at the flip side. If you're experienced photographer, have your own vision or interpretation of a certain thing, you say, "Oh, that's annoying. Why is it telling me that I'm wrong?"
Let's turn this back the other way then and ask anybody listening, what is it that's wrong with photography today that AI could fix? What is it you're dissatisfied about with your camera, its operation, the results that AI might be able to put right?
Yep. And remember, we actually had a conversation before, and it probably from me actually, and when we talked about this subject recognition, the tracking on the camera, and I said that if a photographer cannot identify a bird or identify a car that you want to focus on, you are probably in a bit of trouble. Why do you need to use an AI deep learning tracking mode just to focus on things that you already know is there in front of you?
But then it depends on the kind of work you're doing, doesn't it? If you are an Instagrammer or a YouTuber who's going to be driven solely by the analytics and your likes and your subscribers and your popularity, if the Alice camera or one of its successors could actually operate a gimbal and frame the shot and take the shot and only take pictures of things and in a style that in you would be popular on Instagram, you'd just let it get on with it, wouldn't you? You wouldn't even need to look at the pictures. You just have a straight feed from your AI camera to your social feed, and watch the likes building. So if you're that kind of photographer who's more concerned with the end result, which in this case is popularity, AI could be brilliant because your motives are quite different, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Six has actually got a comment here responding to you. An AI processor can reduce the necessity for fast lenses, which can be too expensive and heavy. I suppose that what he's trying to think about is two things there. Is first of all, is the aesthetics of it. And then, likely because fast lenses, you're talking about depth of field, there's a fade bokeh, I suppose you're trying to say. And also, secondly, AI noise reduction is already happening. So if that can be done, that means you can have an f5.6 lens. Doesn't really matter. You shoot at low light and 1 million ISO, you still come up with a very good image. And that's a potential, which is what we're doing in smartphone, right? Smartphone sensors are tiny. And then even it may have a 1.7 aperture, but regardless, when you go anything over ISO 400, anything is going to look extremely difficult. And but the AI behind it or the program behind it enhances the photo to extent that it's actually viewable on at least from a phone screen distance. And so I can see what your point. And what do you think, Rod, about this?
Well, I haven't seen fake blur that doesn't look fake yet. I guess one day it can be done, but there are lots of problems in the way. And the other thing is that I feel more like I'd want an engineering solution rather than a digital one. I think perhaps AI processing can reduce the need for big heavy lenses, but I don't know. I shoot on Micro Four Thirds. The lenses aren't big and heavy, so it's not something that bothers me particularly. I don't like solving a simple problem with a complicated solution. So if one day AI processing can give me the same results I get from just using a fast lens, even then I will say, well, all that development effort has gone into doing something I can do already.
Well, I guess you can look at it both ways. Let's say I
Yeah,
don't think I
yeah.
don't think AI can reduce or replace fast lenses, and not at all. I think fast lenses will definitely continue to be, a thing in photography, and also a very high demand product for anyone who needs that sort of lenses. But for a lot of ordinary people, and let's say beginner general snappers, and just beginner photographers who doesn't necessarily have the budget nor the knowledge to use such a fast lens to compose something or to make something, but they want the aesthetic. And I guess, an AI can give you that for basically nothing, and you can buy a program, or maybe a camera manufacturer may incorporate that sort of features inbuilt into the camera in the beginning levels, and enhanced portrait, just a little button there, and then you can just kind of give you that shallow depth of field look. And that could happen for a lot of iPhone selling well, or Android, or any smartphone selling well, and that sort of features, even though they look fake. But it seems that people are not not too bothered about it.
Yeah, no, I think that's perfectly true. I think the reason I asked the question in the first place, what everybody else thinks, is because there's nothing in cameras at the moment, as far as I'm concerned, that I feel would benefit from AI. There's a lot of stuff I think would benefit from simplification
Yeah.
rather than sophistication. Um, so I'm just curious and I think as well, it'd be very easy to invent problems because that we want a solution for. Um, I don't think there are that many photographic problems
Mm.
that haven't already been solved.
No, and yeah, it's just going around in a circle at the moment, trying to.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it
yeah.
is, and it's just trying different iterations of the same thing that we've been doing for the last 20 years, and noise reduction has always been there, and there's just just different version of it. But the latest round of AI, whatever they call AI reductions, like DxOs and all the other Topaz and all the other people. They all have their version of noise reductions, and some are more successful than the others. And yeah, I can see that happening, and maybe there's another round in the future when there's another kind of newer learning technologies behind and whatever, and they come up with even better, and algorithms, and suddenly change your image from not only a noisy image but also a small file into a huge file that is still very believable, with all the details in there, which is kind of happening already. Topaz has the gigapixel, which kind of enhances a
It
enlarge photo by giving you fake details.
well, that gigapixel is very interesting. So I've tried it out on various subjects, and it's exceptionally good at textures like animals and grass and vegetation.
Yeah,
You can give it some very unpromising low res image and it'll do the most extraordinary things. But if you give it anything like a building with windows and doors, or a sign with text or vehicles, then it's pretty hopeless because
yeah,
it's trying to invent textures where no textures should exist. So
yeah,
none of
yeah,
these things are perfect. Um, and I guess the AI element in there is the software tries to figure out what the photograph is of and what the textures would have been like if they'd been
mm,
shot at a higher resolution.
yeah, yeah,
Um, that's effective. Um, so David Allen says, yeah, what about generative AI could reproduce what's missing in blown out highlights or cross shadows? Well, it's going to have to guess, isn't it?
yeah,
Because the definition of no detail is well, there's no detail. So the AI is going to have to figure out what it thinks probably would have been there if there had
yeah,
been anything, which is kind of it is generative AI. It is not exactly detail recovery, is it? In the same way that Gigapixel isn't really recovering lost detail, it's figuring out what the detail probably might have been.
yeah. Well, just like in this image, like basically similar in that sense. If I cover this one frame, this is actually nothing there, and the computer is
Yeah.
trying to figure out what is there is blank, and then just guess it and just reproduce it, and by it does it. I guess it does its own cloning in a way, trying to figure out what the rest is like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The shadow and highlight detail thing, raw software at the moment doesn't guess what's there. It reconstructs it from the RGB color data present in a raw file.
Yeah.
It is recovering information not yet visible. It's not guessing. But you would, if the detail was not even present in the raw file, then you would need some kind of generative AI to figure out what it might have been.
Yeah, I think that's the interesting part. And Steve, waiting for the whole world to be digitized, and then you can just take a little photo of anything at any time with any photo.
Yeah, but it had to be real time digitization, wouldn't it? So now and again you see one of those Google Street View cars drive by. They're going to be going past all the time, and they're going to want to come in your house as well. Perhaps have a camera in your house.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised these days how much Google Street View actually covers. And it even covers.
I know, it's incredible.
It goes into supermarket car parks, believe me or not.
I know. It's pity it can't go into my local Sainsbury's to figure out so I can figure out whether they've got the thing I want in stock.
One day, you never know. And that's the thing. And David actually has replied that it is not detail recovery, but if an AI understands the object that's in the image, and you may be able to generate realistic details, and some might see value in that.
Well, so take your shot that's on the screen at the moment. That sky is pretty much gone, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I don't know whether you can remember what kind of sky it was. Was it blue sky? Was it cloudy sky? Was there like a high cloud? How's the AI going to guess? There's nothing for it to go on. So it's just going to come up with something that looks as if it might be appropriate, which you can accept or not, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, this is why, I mentioned earlier, and the AI does generate 3 versions of like you see in the window here on the side, on the right hand side here. They just generate 3 versions of the generative image, so I can actually change it. But in this case, you probably can't see much of it, because I think that you can't really tell whichever version I choose. But let's say if you go back to this one here, and you can see that it does have different versions of it. And if I click on here, you can see that there's 3 versions here, so I can choose whichever version I like. And so it generates multiple versions, so you can choose. If you don't like it, you can click generate again to generate another 3 versions until you find the one that you think is closer to what you think it is. I don't think the AI can think that way, that what's missing there, what is there behind. It may understand that's a sky, but it doesn't know, like you said, what detail is this like this, and what cloud formation it is.
Well, for example, if you selected that sky and said, and in the prompt said add a sky, do you think that would do a better job than the regular sky replacement?
I doubt
feature?
it, but let's see if I draw something in here, and I'm gonna say what should I say? Sunny sky.
Or stormy sky. See what it does.
Stormy sky.
Yeah.
And let's see whether the computer understand and just generate something. That would be interesting to see. It might come and find something really ridiculous, I bet. Sometimes it just gives me some really crazy stuff when I was trying it. Can't see much of it, actually. Oh, there you go. It looks like the Buckingham Palace on fire. got some smoke there. That's another version. With pylons, where did the pylon come from? There you go. That's an answer. Like if the computer doesn't have anything to work with, it just generates some random stuff, and it doesn't know. So if you got crushed detail, which is completely blacked out, got no information is there. If you if you ask the computer will try to guess what it is, and it generates something. And then if you think it's worthwhile, then you can choose one of the versions that you generated and use it. And but you may have to generate a few times before you find one that is actually matching to what you like. And so I wouldn't necessarily think that is going to be, yeah, like you said, Rod. It's not detail recovery when there's no details there. If all the datas are gone, it's literally very difficult to ask the computer to have that intelligence to have actually to recommend some sort of details for you.
So Mel Giggs got the idea that AI could read the EXIF data in the image, find the location, date and time, and then figure out what the. I hope that's not a serious suggestion. It might be. It might be. The thing is, I've got an alternative one. You could just bracket your exposures.
Yeah.
And you could just make sure you didn't blow the sky out, because if the best we can do as a purpose for AI is fixing stuff that we've messed up, that's not great, is it?
Yeah.
Maybe we should stop messing stuff up.
No, we shouldn't. I like I said actually earlier, like I don't think we should use AI to, yeah, you can have some fun with it, but and I don't think we should alter photograph as it is. And I'm still stand by, the code of journalism. I hate altering things. I like to record things as how I shoot it. And I think that's the fun part of crafting photography, right? Crafting, making an image. You wait for the right moment to click that frame. You wait for the sunset to have the sunset shot, not to generate a sunset. And I personally think that is still the way to do it. And no matter how powerful the AI becomes in the future, I just don't think that it should be used that way to change an image or transform an image to a totally different. Have a different context, totally different context.
I think it just comes back to this idea of what we're trying to do. Are we trying to take a photograph, or are we trying to make an image? And I think both are completely valid.
Yep.
And you can use a photograph as a basis for an image.
Yep.
But I think probably if we're going to start adding AI elements into photographs, we might need to find a different word for what we've created.
Yeah, absolutely. And just go back to Dave. What we talked about sunny sky earlier. Look at this. I just generated something, although it's not real, but it, because the sky itself is blown out, and but I have trying to generate a sunny sky, even though you added some trees and added another level of roof there, but it does give me some cloud formation.
Yeah, and it's fairly convincing too.
Yeah, it does look pretty good in this particular case here. And so yeah, it's obviously it's fake. I guess with proper masking, it will do a much better job than it is, because at the moment I'm just simply randomly drawing a line there. But if you do proper masking and a slightly more accurate line, I think it would do a better job at actually replacing the sky. And I don't think I mean, I know Lightroom Classic can actually select sky and select subject and background.
Oh yeah.
Intelligently, and Photoshop doesn't do that at the moment, so you still have to highlight certain bits of it. So maybe there's another version of it coming out that will allow you to actually select sky, select foreground, select subject, similar to what they do on Lightroom Classic already, and then you can manipulate it further with the AI stuff. I'm pretty sure that's probably what they will do in the next version or two.
The thing I find with the Lightroom's AI masking is that it's often uncannily effective, but it creates quite sharp-edged masks. And very often, if you're making any tonal adjustments, then I find I then have to intersect it with a gradient mask or radial mask to get a realistic transition of tones.
Yep.
Because you know what digital images are like close up. They've always got little artifacts around high contrast edges, and if you have a sharp selection, that just makes them obvious.
Yes, and like I said, if you go to pixel level and starting to inspect this photograph here, you will see a lot of flaws everywhere, and you definitely will see it. But having said that, even the most skillful Photoshop people, they will still have this sort of similar sort of experience, and they will still let's put it that way. You have to guess what the missing elements is. Even with a skillful Photoshopper, they still have to guess what it is. They have to clone using cloning tool to find out what's matching the missing parts and trying to regenerate manually for that particular bit. So it's not always going to be 100% unless you have multiple images at different time having shown the detail and you're trying to manipulate that way, but you have to be in the same place, same spot, and to be able to get a very realistic results. Sorry, Rod.
I was only going to say as well that sometimes we look to AI to solve things that we can probably do already. I mean, one of them I think is sky replacement. The AI sky masking I've seen so far from everyone can be good and it can be quite poor, but in general the problem is the same.
Yeah.
The edges around tree lines, for example, I don't know why I'm waving, you can't see me. I can't see me pointing. But the edges around tree lines, they almost always go wrong. They get nasty artifacts you can't fix. But if you didn't have any of this AI software or AI masking, what you do in Photoshop is you just switch blend modes. You've got a blown out sky, drop in a new sky, do some masking, get it roughly right, then switch to overlay or multiply mode. The sky's going to look the same because what's behind it is white, but it kind of hides those nasty edges. So I guess what I'm coming around to trying to say is that AI masking can make things incredibly simple, but not necessarily with any great finesse, which I think is probably what you said as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And Meg actually asked me, can I change all the flags?
Yeah, go on then, go on.
Well, you know what? I have to do it individually, so I'm not going to do that. But I will try to do one to see if I can change one. And then I don't know. To be frank, I have not tried to change the flag. But if I highlight just one flag to see what it does. So let's change into what flag would you like? And we got a UK flag here.
Where have we got any Americans in the audience? Perhaps we ought to do an American flag.
American flag. Okay, let's generate. There you go, to see whether you suddenly come up with something completely different. To see whether the computer actually clever enough to still having hanging down motions there, to see whether it's actually believable or not. I don't know. That's not American flag, isn't it? It's a combination of it.
That's New Zealand, isn't it? No, I don't know what that is.
It's totally wrong. And
you've invented a new nation. That's incredible. What the power of AI! You've invented a country.
Yeah, and let's see the different version. That's still UK flag. I don't think it does American flag very well. Even though even though Adobe is American, but that is funny, right? That's interesting. Right. The answer is yes, potentially, but at the moment I don't think it understands flags at all. No, maybe later. Maybe later when they learn all the flags and things like that. And anything else?
You should put in a feature request to Adobe.
Yes.
Can you have flag swap AI?
Yes. And remember, I talked about the guidelines, and there's another thing it doesn't generate is generate faces. So you cannot generate face in any sort of human faces. So it will just give you a really weird looking, alien looking figure. And I tried it, and it just looks horrible. And it almost looks like one of those people from horror movies, and it really is something. If you don't believe me, I'm trying to generate one for you. Let me try to generate another one here. In this particular picture, and let me generate a photographer with red t-shirt and black jeans. Just be more specific. Right, let's see what he generates. And I can tell you that the figure looks really, really horrible because I tried it before, and let's see what he comes up with. But it doesn't generate faces because obviously copyright and also other things. And
there's a face there. You got a face there.
Yes, but if you zoom in, and you know what I mean here, right? Let's go in, and like I told you, from a horror movie.
Yeah, I know a guy like that.
Oh,
it must be him. He's looking the wrong way as well.
Yeah, but also if you look at the camera, because of the copyright as well, it cannot show any brand. So you were trying to generate
Well,
something, but it doesn't even look like a camera. It doesn't look like a gun either. So it's kind of weird looking things that he's holding.
this answers a question about the shot of an airplane beyond the lighthouse.
Yeah.
It won't have any logos or identifying markers on it because that's against Adobe policy.
Yes.
There will be no brands or trademarks or
Yeah.
distinguishable logos on anything inserted.
Yeah. And but having said that, if you dig deeper into this, and even though it looks completely fake at the moment, certain parts of it, in terms of blending wise, is actually pretty impressive. Like look at the edges around here,
Yeah.
and it's pretty impressive. And but obviously, if you look further down, and there you can see some flaw in the edges here. You can see the white bit here, and that doesn't blend too well. But
I
apart from
think
that,
you
yeah,
could
still good.
believe that was the backlighting.
You could. But
Yeah.
other than that, you
It's
can
not that
even
bad.
see
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can even see the shoes. It's got a little
Yeah.
bit of light there that's hitting from the angle.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the AI does have some intelligence in that way, that it thinks about the angle, the light, and everything, trying to get as real as possible. But in this particular case, it just looks horrible because first of all, it's got no face, and then other things just looks a bit ridiculous. The hand positions and his hand size compared to the face size, and the camera is not a camera really, and so yeah, it just funny. But having said that, I just draw a camera, it does give me a camera, and I tried it. Let me try to draw a camera here, but
See
obviously
if we can work out. See if we can work out what camera it is.
and it's just weird. I think it's my mouse. Right. Okay. Let's bring it back up here, and so it does give you a camera, and with a made-up name, and there you go.
Oh, let's have a look. Let's have a look.
Right. Let's see what camera this is, and right. Some red line there. That's an L lens, right? That's a Canon lens. The grip. I don't know what grip this looks like. What about the mic? It had nothing. I don't think I've seen a mic like this before.
No, as they've done very well to anonymize that camera completely.
And although I
That's quite
had a
impressive.
that's slightly better. That's slightly better looking from the other angle. And
That looks like a 14 to 24 to me.
yeah, it got some modes there. I think it's got these are metering modes. Looks like metering modes, and that's another version of that's the back of the camera.
Is it? Right.
Yeah, that's the back of the camera.
Yeah. Interesting. Very interesting.
Right. Let me try to be more specific. Rangefinder camera, and see whether you can generate a slightly better looking one. I did have a very realistic TLRs the other day when I tried to generate. So that one looks pretty real. That one. But the brand is obviously made up brand again. Oh, that's not a rangefinder. I don't think I understand what rangefinder is. I don't know. Don't look at that lens.
That's a shift lens. That's a tilt lens, all right. Either that or somebody's dropped it.
And weirdly, it includes the the top bit of a light stand or tripod.
Yeah, from where they nicked it from Adobe stock, probably. I didn't say that. I didn't say that. That was a joke.
That is a very weird looking camera.
Well, it's like this could be a limitation in the Adobe's determination not to introduce any identifiable objects. Could leave your images littered with pretend objects and nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, this basically answers what earlier about the plane. Yep.
These are the cameras you buy on Amazon for $30. Now I know where I've seen them before.
Yeah. Oh, look, you even got a little image in the viewfinder in the back screen as well.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. But yeah, I mean, I think that's the answer for the plane earlier. So the plane would possibly be assembled or with bits in it, and then just the computer would generate the rest of it to make up a plane and what it looks like a plane. So we this basically show you, and everything you see so far are all completely fake. So nothing is real. It may base on something, and but then again, it's only elements of it and how the AI sees. Oh, that's the button on the camera. So you use that button, but then you generate the rest of it and how grip looks like, form of grip, and different angles of the cameras and things. But yeah, it's it's very funny.
Could you add a car?
A car,
Just out of a car, just out of interest.
right? And
I bet it wouldn't let you name the brand. It'd probably say you can't do that.
right, how big a car do we want to add? And I think maybe in the background.
Yeah, or try just typing car in the background and see if it can figure out that it needs to be quite small.
Okay, and okay, car in the background.
This is great. None of us ever need to go and take another photograph. We've got all the photographs we need. We can just turn them into anything now.
Yep, pretty much.
So my camera gear.
David actually said, I suspect Adobe have deliberately introduced code to limit how accurate generative AI will generate something like faces, brand, and trademark. Well, this car looks definitely. This car looks pretty believable, and
well, let's have a look.
Let's see.
Of course, they may have decided it's out of focus. There you go.
Yeah, I think when it's out of focus, it definitely does a slightly better job in doing things. Maybe because we can't see the brand and anything like that, so it has that ability.
It's got the shadow underneath. Underneath, that's good.
And also the rim light around the car, which is also from the sun behind.
Right, yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty darn good, to be honest. Although it's got different wheels on it, but it's a bit weird. But then
that's like my car.
But the lighting is pretty believable.
It's pretty impressive. Yeah, I think at first glance, I think this would be great for YouTube thumbnails.
Yeah.
Because so. you could cook something up in just half a minute to get across an idea.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, that actually the car does look quite believable. The car, and yeah, it you know, if you play around with it, you can have hours of fun just by adding and deleting things from a photo. You know, but at the moment I'm experimenting it, and I don't think I'm going to use it apart from I think removing. I'm going to use it for removing things. It's quite good, you know, because if I have to go through the hassles of cloning things, then I must just use AI, just one button, just highlight the thing and just remove it. And it's really a time saver for me. And not that I use it a lot, but the time that I do need to use it, it will save me a ton of time just by using AI to remove it. And I guess
it's like if you shoot a landscape or a landmark, there's always some tourist in fluorescent orange anorak who won't move out of the way.
Just out of curiosity, you know, like go back to your image here. You know, you got this big lighthouse, and let's see if I can completely remove the lighthouse. Let's see
why not? Why did I even go?
Right. What I'm interested in at the moment is obviously because you see, like now I'm highlighting this bit here, and then I want to see how it does the blending between this bit here, this section here, you know, where the sunlight is in the sky, and how realistic it actually blends in the sea here. So it will be quite interesting. So or
if you wanted to be super ironic, you could type in "add a lighthouse."
Yeah. Well, as first I'm going to remove it, and I'm going to add another one to it to see what happens. Okay. So I'm going to remove it first, and I'm going to add another lighthouse to it. And I think the one they add is going to be a lot smaller, I think. And well, actually, if I keep it the same size, we probably will get a big one. So we'll see.
Let's see.
And
well done. That's impressive.
This is impressive. This is super impressive. Wow. Okay.
That is what I call object removal.
Yes, this is good. Like, save me a lot of hassle cloning it. This is good.
Yeah.
Even like you can see how smooth it is. The light.
Yeah.
Everything is really good. So now, I'm gonna add a lighthouse. And see what kind of lighthouse it generates. And so I'm gonna have the similar sort of size. Putting in here. I'm gonna have lighthouse. And let's see what kind of thing it generates. So I'm going to have the similar sort of size, putting in here. I'm going to have lighthouse. And let's see what kind of thing it generates. I'm going to have lighthouse. And let's see what kind of thing it generates. And let's see what kind of thing it generates. And let's see what kind of thing it generates. And let's see what kind of thing it generates. And let's see what kind of thing it generates. And let's see what kind of thing it generates. And let's see what kind of thing it generates. And let's see what kind of thing it generates. And let's see what kind of thing it generates. And let's see what kind of thing it generates. And let's see what kind of thing it generates. And let's see what kind of thing it generates. And let's see what kind of thing it generates. And let's see what kind of thing it generates. And let's see what kind of thing it generates. And let's see what kind of thing it generates. And let's see what kind of thing it generates. And let's see what kind of thing it generates. And let's see what kind of thing it generates. And let's see what kind of thing it generates. And let's see what kind of thing it generates. And let's see what kind of thing it generates. And let's see what kind of thing I think removal is definitely one of my most used
That
feature.
I wouldn't like to try and attempt to remove something that big. It's even got the
Okay.
lights. It's got the tones right too.
Whoa. It's not too bad. It's not too bad at all. Wow.
What about the other variations? You've got
Okay.
3, haven't you?
Yes.
That's all right.
That is
Yeah,
realistic, that one. That's realistic.
yeah,
That's okay too.
yeah.
The first one is
Oh,
probably
pretty
the
good. Yeah,
fakest. This one's the most fake. I think it's because the contrast too high. But this one, the second one, is quite realistic, this one.
yeah, yeah.
There you go, Rod. Next time you don't have to go there. You use the same image, just change it. Oh wow. This is something. Why? This is the power of AI. Oh my goodness. Now we're really showcasing it now. And let me remove the plane because the plane is horrible. Right. Now I think it's a pretty image now. We got a boat there in the distance, we got a sunset, and then we got a lighthouse. Wow.
I'm missing that shark. How about
uh,
can we have some seals or dolphins?
right. Let me see if I can get a seal, and it probably generates something quite weird because every time I type animals or any sort of animals on things like this, it always comes with something weird.
It's
Yeah.
probably there are probably rules about producing a seal that's individually recognizable in case it infringes the seal's rights to privacy.
It
There we
looks like a
go.
Loch Ness. It looks like a Loch
That
Ness
that
monster.
that is a big seal. That is one
Well,
big seal.
it's because I draw the box quite big.
Yeah, yeah.
The seal is bigger than a boat.
Either that or it's just a very tiny lighthouse.
Yeah, and but yeah,
Like,
it's
I
pretty convincing. Yes.
I think the object removal is the most impressive and directly useful thing. I think the generative object insertion, like a lot of past Adobe tools,
Yeah.
when it works, it's brilliant. When it doesn't work, there's nothing you can do about it. You just have to start again.
No, that's right. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's actually for certain things it's definitely quite impressive. And
Last request. Can we have a gannet?
again, it
Because there were gannets on the rocks below the lighthouse.
below the lighthouse. Right. Let me. How far down you want?
Well, it can go anywhere. It could be anywhere in the sky, couldn't it? It doesn't have to be low. I mean, it doesn't have to be. Just put it up in the sky somewhere.
Put me in
Or
the sky
could we
somewhere.
have 2 gannets?
Let's see. Maybe somewhere here.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
How do you spell gannet?
GANNETS.
Right. Let's see. Moments of Truth coming out soon.
Yeah.
We're all having fun with this, isn't it? Everyone's laughing about it. And
I'm crying on the inside.
Ooh.
Is that a gannet?
Okay. I don't know. Let's zoom in and have a look.
I don't know what that is. Maybe it is. Yeah, maybe it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this one you need to put a little bit of blur to make it a little bit more realistic. That's too sharp at pixel level.
The gannet I saw had been in the sea, so it's looking a bit sorry for itself. That might be what they're meant to look like.
Right. Well, I got another version of it. Flying into the sun.
Excellent.
And
Excellent.
I don't know this one actually. This is also flying away, flying that way again. Okay.
Gannet with a fish.
Ooh, let's see.
We're gonna have to stop soon. This is getting silly.
With fish in its mouth. Or beaks. So I said beaks or mouth.
It should be able to figure it out. So it's AI. It should know.
Yeah, it should know. It should know, certainly. Let's see if it generates something. Right, there we go. Ooh, it does have a little fish.
Does it?
And there are two of them for some reason. And there you go. Can you see a little fish there?
Well, well, well. How amazing.
Whoa. Oh, what is that? That's not fish.
Could be.
And and this one's got flying fish.
Well, it's just got away, that's all. I
Oh,
don't think
dear.
that's a gannet. It might be, but who knows? Who knows?
Oh dear me. That is, this one is believable. This one, I think. Although the wing here is a little bit different and a bit weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think
We
this one is okay.
we need to get David Attenborough on this so he can tell us if that's actually a gannet. we must have bird photographers watching this who can tell us.
Yeah, yeah.
That's somewhere between a gannet and a pterodactyl, as far as I can see.
Yeah, anyone know what this type of bird is? Let us know, and let me put a little bit blur into it and make it slightly more believable. And got some blur, I think. Yeah, 1.8 is fine. Maybe yeah, 1.8 is fine. That's fine. I'll just stick with 1.8. Yes, now it's slightly more believable. Now it's slightly out of focus and just a little bit better. A little bit better.
Yeah.
Right, now this image is perfect now, right, Rod? We replace
that's
replace your lighthouse. The only thing that we kept is the sea and the sun.
Yeah, we can get rid of that as well. I don't care anymore.
We got the perfect elements here. We got a seal, we got a bow, and we got a gannet.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got everything we need to make a perfect image. Next time you don't have to travel all the way there, and just use one of your old images and just generate a new one.
I might travel all the way there and not come back.
Ah. Oh, right. The Narrowband channel just joined. Sorry I'm late. No worry, mate. We're actually just about to finish, and we had loads of fun about manipulating images. You should actually watch back what we did from the earlier images, and some of them are quite crazy, to be quite honest. It's fun. It's fun. But so let's summarize everything we talked about today, and you guys, please let me know or let us know what you think about the latest Adobe Photoshop beta with the AI image generation feature. Do you think it's useful? Do you think it's productive? Do you think it's something that you would use in the future? I think we demonstrated a little bit. I think the feature that I may use fairly often is the removal tool, using AI as a removal tool. And I think it does a brilliant job in removing things and figuring out everything without me having to do the heavy lifting in clonings and, doing all kinds of manipulations there, because the AI seems to understand quite well in that regard and does a pretty good job in it. In terms of altering the image and changing things, and I still have a bit of reserve into it, even though that, like this particular image that we're showing you right now, it can be quite believable. And but still, it's not a real image, and I'm a photographer. I shoot real things, and I want to see real thing. So it's not something I would think that I would like to use, even though I say that I would use removal. So using it for removal, but I don't think that I would be using it constantly for all my work and things like that. I only use it at my client's request, for instance, and I don't think I would be using it on a day-to-day basis to perfect my images. And I don't think that there's no such word as a perfect image, and it's all very subjective, and it's also depending on what you are looking at. But from my standpoint, as a photographer who documents travels and do things and like capturing the moments for weddings, and I don't think any sort of alterations from the context, the contents within the image is my work ethic. I don't like to alter it to an extent that you can't recognize the image at all. And so yeah, you guys are very welcome to let me know your thoughts. And what about you, Rod? What's your last words about the AI program?
Well, I still think it's not really the way I see things and the way I do things, bearing in mind that most of my work is, so if I'm not testing cameras and producing sample images, which have to be what the camera captures, not with seals and lighthouses added in, So that kind of rules that out. But for Nick, I am drawn to scenes as they are. I enhance them to try and isolate and exaggerate what appeals to me.
Yeah.
But I have no interest myself in adding things, because as soon as I do that, and I've done it plenty of times in the past, for me it takes something away from it. From my point of view, it's the I find the most value in images is that they capture what was there.
Yeah.
I'm not that proud. I do manipulate it to look better and nicer and clean it up and what have you.
Yeah.
But if I were to start adding things, I feel straight away that what I've created is an illustration, not a photograph.
No. Okay, so that's good. So we got views, and I hope you guys would agree, and also share your views as well. What you think? I got a dog walking on the water. And but there you go. This is how crazy AI can be, and obviously you really have to understand what the program does. And it has some. If you want to try it, if you do have a Adobe subscription, you can. It's free to try. You just download the beta program and just have some fun with it. But what I do have to warn you though, I do have the latest Mac and use the M2 Max processor. Even that takes a little bit of time, so I can imagine if you got a slightly older computer, that could take a bit longer to render some of these images. But yeah, you can have some fun with it and let us know what you think about it, and come back and share your work if you want, and that would be quite fun to see what sort of thing you generate. But for now, we are only doing it for entertainment purposes. We don't intend to or encourage you to do this for a living or to do any sort of serious photographer work, and because it's something that I don't think we should be taking it too seriously unless you're really using it for some sort of commercial reasons. Otherwise, have fun. Okay, thank you again for joining us, and thank you, Rod. And we're sure we'll have another topic next week, and we'll try to stay away from this AI stuff now, because we've been talking about it for about the last 3 weeks now. So let's move on from AI and start talking a little bit about photography, not computer. Now, see, my head is changed now by the AI, and it's all talk about computer now, so not great. Anyway, and you guys have fun, and I will speak to you all very, very soon. And if you guys want to stay tuned, remember to subscribe, and also bookmark the playlist for this particular Red Hot Talk playlist. And also remember that if you missed it at the beginning, and you can always go back after this show's ended, and you can go back and start all over again, and also listen as a podcast if you wish. So until next time, I'll see you all very soon. Bye for now.